life English with class.
You know that moment when you're lying in bed at night, replaying a conversation in English from earlier that day, and suddenly you think of the perfect thing you should have said? Yeah, we've all been there.
Oh man, every single time.
Right? And here's the thing. Your brain knew the English. It just couldn't find it fast enough when you needed it. That's not a language problem. That's a training problem.
Exactly. And that's exactly what we're talking about today.
Hey everyone, welcome to Real Life English, the podcast. I'm Emma.
And I'm Max. And if you've ever felt that frustration of knowing English but not being able to speak it when it actually matters, this episode is exactly for you.
Today we're going to give you 3 things. First, you're going to understand why your brain freezes when you try to speak and it's not what you think. Second, we're going to share the exact daily practices we use to train our brains to think faster in English. And third, and this is the best part, you're getting one super simple technique you can start using literally today that will change how your brain processes English.
This episode is designed for intermediate learners around B1 to B2 level. But honestly, if you can follow what we're saying right now, you're going to get a ton of value from this.
Before we dive in, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. We release new episodes every week to help you improve your real-life English, not textbook stuff, but the English you actually need for conversations, for work, for life.
And here's your homework for today after you finish this episode. Leave us a comment and tell us what's one situation where your brain completely freezes when you try to speak English. Job interviews? Ordering food? Talking to strangers?
Yeah, tell us your freeze moment. We read every single comment, and honestly, it helps us make better episodes for you.
All right, let's get into this.
So, I want to start with something that happened to me last year. I was at a coffee shop, right? Just a normal Tuesday morning, and this woman next to me starts chatting. She was from Brazil, visiting the city, super friendly, and we're having this nice conversation about travel and coffee and whatever. Then she asks me this question about public transportation, and I just blanked. Like, my brain completely shut down. I stood there like a robot for what felt like 10 minutes, but was probably 5 seconds. And then I finally mumbled something that didn't even make sense.
Oh no!
And here's the crazy part. I teach English. I know all the words. But at that moment, my brain just couldn't access them. I was completely flustered. Flustered means feeling confused and a bit embarrassed because you can't think clearly or act normally.
Yeah, I totally get that. And I think a lot of people assume that means their English is bad. But that's not it at all.
Exactly. It's not about knowing English. It's about how fast your brain can retrieve it. Retrieve means to find something and bring it back, like pulling information out of your memory when you need it.
Right. Your brain is like a huge library full of English words and grammar and phrases. But if the library isn't organized well, you can't find the book you need when you're in a hurry.
Ooh, I love that comparison.
I had this exact same thing happen when I was learning Spanish. I was at a dinner party, and someone asked me about my job. Simple question, right? I've talked about my job a million times in English. But in Spanish, I just stood there opening and closing my mouth like a fish.
That's such a visual.
I know. And later that night, lying in bed, I thought of the perfect answer, word for word. Just came to me. But by then, obviously, it was completely useless.
That's the thing, though. Your brain can do it. It just needs to be primed to do it faster. Primed means prepared or made ready for something to happen, like setting up the conditions so your brain is ready to respond quickly.
Exactly. And that's where training comes in. You have to create these mental pathways so your brain doesn't have to work so hard every single time.
Yes. It's like, okay, think about driving. When you first learn to drive, you have to think about everything, the mirrors, the pedals, the turn signal, checking blind spots. It's completely overwhelming.
Oh, it's exhausting.
But after you've driven for a few years, you don't even think about it anymore. You just do it. Your brain has automated the process. Automated means made something happen automatically without having to think about each step.
And that's what we want for English. We want speaking to feel automatic, not like hard work every single time.
Totally. So the question is, how do we actually train our brains to get there?
Okay, so here's what most people get wrong. They think the way to train their brain is to study more grammar books, more vocabulary lists, more apps with little green owls.
Don't come for the owl.
I'm not. I'm just saying. That's input training. You're putting more information into your brain. But speaking isn't about input. It's about output. Output means the language that comes out of you when you speak or write, the actual production of language.
Ooh, okay. I actually disagree with you a little bit here.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because I think you do need input. You can't output what you haven't input. Like, if you've never heard a phrase before, how are you supposed to use it?
Fair point. But here's where I think we're saying the same thing differently. You need input, yes. But most learners are drowning in input. They watch Netflix in English, they listen to podcasts like this one, they read articles. They're getting tons of input.
True.
But they're not getting enough output practice. And that's the gap. That's why their brain freezes, because they've never actually practiced retrieving that language under pressure.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. It's like knowing the ingredients for a recipe versus actually cooking the dish.
Exactly. You can read a recipe 100 times, but until you actually stand in the kitchen and cook it, you don't really know it.
All right, I'm convinced. So, output practice is the key.
Output practice is the key. And specifically, you need to simulate real conversations. Simulate means to create a situation that feels like the real thing, like practicing for something before it actually happens.
Yes. And here's something that surprised me when I learned about this. Your brain actually doesn't know the difference between a real conversation and a simulated one.
Wait, really?
Really? When you practice speaking out loud, even if you're alone in your room, your brain creates the same neural pathways as if you were talking to a real person.
That's wild.
I know. So you don't need to wait for the perfect conversation partner or the perfect situation. You can literally train your brain by yourself.
Okay, but let's be real for a second. When I first heard that advice, just talk to yourself in English, I thought it sounded absolutely ridiculous.
Right?
Like, I'm supposed to sit in my apartment having conversations with myself like some kind of weirdo is a casual, playful word for someone who does strange or unusual things. But it's not really mean, just teasing.
But then you tried it?
I tried it. And honestly, it works. It feels awkward for like 2 days, and then it just becomes this normal part of your routine.
And here's the aha moment I want everyone to catch. When you practice speaking alone, you remove the social pressure. There's nobody judging you, nobody waiting for you to finish, nobody getting impatient.
Right, so your brain can actually focus on finding the words instead of managing anxiety.
Exactly. You're training the language muscle without the emotional stress. And then, when you do have a real conversation, your brain already has these well-worn paths. Well-worn means used so many times that it's become easy and familiar, like a path in the forest that many people have walked on.
I love that. Well-worn paths.
So the big idea here is this. Your brain needs repetition in a low-pressure environment before it can perform in a high-pressure one.
And most people skip that step. They try to jump straight into real conversations without doing the training first.
And then they wonder why they freeze.
Exactly.
You know what's interesting, though? This whole brain training thing looks different depending on where you are in the world.
How so?
Well, I've talked to listeners from places like Japan and Korea, where there's sometimes this cultural expectation to be perfect before you speak. Like, you don't want to make a mistake in front of others because it could be seen as embarrassing.
Oh yeah, I've heard that. It's like precision is really valued.
Right. So for someone from that background, the idea of just practicing out loud and making mistakes might feel really uncomfortable at first. But here's the thing, that discomfort is actually why the practice is so valuable.
Totally. And then you have places like Brazil or Italy where I feel like people are more comfortable just jumping in and speaking, even if they make mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. But even there, people still freeze sometimes. It's just for different reasons. Maybe it's not about perfection, but about finding the right word fast enough to keep the conversation flowing.
Right. If you're listening from anywhere in Latin America, you might relate to that. Or if you're from somewhere like Germany or the Netherlands, where a lot of people already speak really good English, you might feel this pressure to sound native, which creates its own kind of freeze.
And if you're listening from India or the Philippines or Nigeria, places where English is super common, but there are so many different varieties, you might be dealing with confidence about your own accent or word choices.
The point is, no matter where you're from, the brain freeze thing is universal. Universal means the same for everyone, everywhere. Something all humans experience, regardless of culture or location.
Exactly. The situations might be different, but the solution is the same. You have to train your brain to access English faster.
And you can do that from anywhere. You don't need a special classroom or a native speaker neighbor.
Just you, your brain, and a commitment to practice.
Which brings us to the practical part. How do you actually do this?
All right, this is the part where we give you something you can use today, like literally after this episode ends.
Yeah, we're going to give you a simple 4-part sentence framework that will help you talk about almost anything in English. And the beauty of this framework is that it trains your brain to structure thoughts quickly.
Okay, here it is. 4 parts. Part 1, when I situation or feeling. Part 2, I usually what you normally do. Part 3, but lately I've been trying something new or different. Part 4, and honestly, the result or your opinion about it.
That's it. 4 sentences. But this framework forces your brain to organize a complete thought with context, action, change, and reflection.
Let me give you an example. Let's say someone asks you about learning English. You could say, when I feel frustrated with my English progress, I usually just watch more videos or study more grammar. But lately, I've been trying to speak out loud to myself for 10 minutes every day. And honestly, I've noticed I can find words faster now.
Perfect. That's natural, it's complete, and it actually says something real.
Here's another one. Maybe someone asks about your work-life balance. When I feel overwhelmed at work, I usually just push through and work longer hours. But lately, I've been trying to take actual lunch breaks away from my desk. And honestly, I think I'm actually more productive now, not less.
Nice. And one more, let's do something about hobbies. When I have free time on weekends, I usually just scroll on my phone without thinking. But lately, I've been trying to read for at least 30 minutes before I touch my phone. And honestly, I feel way more relaxed and focused.
See how versatile this is? You can use it for any topic.
And here's why this trains your brain. Every time you use this framework, you're building that neural pathway. Your brain starts to expect this structure, so it doesn't have to create a new sentence from scratch every time.
Exactly. It's like having a template that your brain can fill in with different content.
So your homework, and we're serious about this, is to use this framework out loud at least 3 times today. Pick 3 different topics. It doesn't matter if anyone's listening. Just say it out loud.
And notice how it feels. The first time might feel clunky. The third time will feel smoother.
That's your brain creating those well-worn paths we talked about earlier.
All right, let's do a quick tour of the key words and phrases we've used in this episode. We're going to go through them one by one, give you a simple definition, and show you how to use them naturally.
And as we go through these, think back, did you catch these when we used them earlier in the episode?
First one, flustered. Flustered means feeling confused, nervous, and a bit embarrassed because you can't think clearly or act normally. Example 1, I got so flustered during the presentation that I forgot my own name. Example 2, don't get flustered, just take a deep breath and start again. Did you catch that one earlier when we used it?
Next, retrieve. Retrieve means to find something and bring it back, especially information from your memory. Example 1, I couldn't retrieve the word I needed, so I had to explain it a different way. Example 2, it takes my brain a few seconds to retrieve vocabulary I haven't used in a while. That's one we used when talking about how your brain finds words.
Number 3, primed. Primed means prepared or made ready for something to happen, like setting up the conditions so your brain is ready to respond quickly. Example 1, after doing my morning practice, my brain is primed for English conversations all day. Example 2, if you're not primed for the situation, your mind will feel slower.
Here's a big one. Automated. Automated means made to happen automatically, without having to think about each step. Example 1. Once the process is automated, you don't waste mental energy on basic decisions. Example 2. I want my English responses to be automated, not something I have to construct carefully every time. Remember when we compared it to driving?
Next up, output. Output means the language that comes out of you when you speak or write the actual production of language, not just understanding it. Example 1. I consume a lot of English content, but I don't get enough output practice. Example 2. Reading is input, but speaking is output, and most learners need more output.
Number 6. Simulate. Simulate means to create a situation that feels like the real thing, like practicing for something before it actually happens. Example 1. You can simulate job interview conversations at home to prepare your brain. Example 2. Even if you simulate the pressure, your brain still gets the practice it needs.
Okay, here's a fun one. Weirdo. Weirdo is a casual, playful word for someone who does strange or unusual things, but it's not really mean, it's more teasing. Example 1. I felt like such a weirdo talking to myself in English, but then it became totally normal. Example 2. My roommate thinks I'm a weirdo because I narrate my cooking in English. Did you catch that when Max was talking about practicing alone?
Here's another great phrase. Well-worn paths. Well-worn means used so many times that it's become easy and familiar, like a path in the forest that lots of people have walked on. Example 1. Once you create well-worn paths in your brain, speaking becomes automatic. Example 2. The more you practice, the more well-worn those neural pathways become.
And finally, universal. Universal means the same for everyone everywhere, something all humans experience regardless of culture or location. Example 1. The desire to communicate clearly is universal. Everyone wants to be understood. Example 2. Brain freeze when speaking a second language is pretty much universal.
So that's 9 key words and phrases. If you caught even half of those when we use them naturally in the conversation, you're doing amazing.
And if you didn't, that's totally fine. That's why we reviewed them. Your brain is absorbing this stuff even when you don't realize it.
All right, we've covered a lot today. Let's bring it all together.
Here's the one big idea I want you to walk away with. Your brain doesn't need more English. It needs more practice accessing the English it already has.
Yeah. And that practice doesn't have to be complicated. It can be 10 minutes a day, talking to yourself, using frameworks like the one we gave you, or even just narrating what you're doing in English.
The key is consistency and removing the pressure. You're not trying to be perfect. You're just creating those well-worn paths so your brain can find the words faster when you actually need them.
And remember, everyone freezes sometimes. Native speakers, advanced learners, everyone. The difference is just how quickly you can recover and keep going.
So be patient with yourself. Your brain is incredibly powerful, but it needs training, just like any other skill.
Before we go, don't forget your homework. Tell us in the comments, what's one situation where your brain completely freezes when you try to speak English? We genuinely want to know.
Yeah, and use that 4-part framework we gave you at least 3 times today. Out loud, even if you're alone, especially if you're alone.
And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with one friend who's also learning English. That's how we grow, and it really means a lot to us.
We'll be back next week with another episode to help you improve your real-life English. Until then, keep practicing, keep speaking, and remember, You're doing better than you think.
See you next time.
Bye-bye, everyone.